Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Here we are today talking about digital footprint. I mean, I don't know how embarrassing the stuff that I would leave behind after I died is out there, right? Like, I wonder.
It's funny. It
I
is. It
really don't
is
know. Like, all the comments you ever commented and things like that.
your permanent record. They used to always say that in elementary school. I wonder if my elementary school from Potomac View Elementary School, the permanent record is still in the bowels of some asshole, library, whatever the heck in the bottom. Probably, but no one would ever find it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with like records like that. But
Well, I
you said did.
remember in middle school, you guys were like, be careful of what you post. It's on there forever, which is definitely true. Definitely true. And you know
Yeah.
what I think about more than anything is the woman that dressed up as a Boston Marathon bombing victim. I think the same year as the Boston Marathon bombing. And she did this for a work party, of all things. And immediately got fired. But the photo of her as a Boston bombing marathon victim is on the internet forever. So I don't know what to make of that, really. Right? It's things like that. I hope our
Well, there is
listeners out
hot to a
there.
girl.
Oh, well, that, yeah. Well, did
I
you
mean,
see the
wait.
convention thing recently? Somebody walked up to her and they're like, "Can you say it? Can you say it?" And she's like, "I don't do that anymore." I'm like, "But that's all you're known for. What do you mean you don't do that anymore?"
Well, I think the funny thing is that not now, but 35 years from now, when somebody walks up and goes, you know,
You think it's still
I
going to be
mean,
relevant? You think it's still going to be a relevant thing?
I think that there's people that are your age, and I'm going to be dead, but people that were around that are going to remember it because it was so like one of those flash in the pans. It's like, who's the Korean guy that did the little cha 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 dance?
Korean guy that did the cha 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 dance.
I don't remember what it was.
One of the million vines,
It was the
or
most annoying thing in the world. It was like Macarena. It was like Macarena.
oh, okay, okay.
He had a song and Genghis dance, Ganga dance, something.
Maybe one of the listeners can figure that out for us in the
Yeah, I don't
comments.
I don't remember. I'll figure it out. But I mean, I started thinking, and LinkedIn launched in 2002. Facebook launched in 2004. I've been on them, I mean, on or around, not too far after that. Uh, so my history with those would be more than 20 years.
Oh
So
wow.
when I die, the most comprehensive history of,
Mhm.
things that I am or have done are right there. You can look at, weirdly, I mean, you could probably, I mean, another thing I thought about is like Giant or whatever grocery store you go to. You go there and you punch in a code because you want to get that 3% discount on everything you buy. All the little items you bought, you get a percentage off. If you put in your phone number, which is your Giant Saver card, which is basically identifying the items that you bought with you. They have a profile on you. When you fill it out originally, you put your name, your phone number, and a few other things in there. They pull up you, they find your address, they know where you live, they know all of that information. And they've gotten that from, and then they sell that information to other parties. They do this just like when you're using this thing. Anytime you use this thing and you pump on the tracking thing where people are allowed, if you say accept cookies, when you say accept cookies, what you're saying is you can track me wherever I go.
I've noticed that more than ever. It says, "Oh, do you
And,
want to accept the cookies?" And then if you cancel it, sometimes the website just doesn't work at all. And say, "Well,
right,
you kind of
because
have to
the
accept the cookies." Yeah.
well, the reason they put accepted cookies is so because they were legally that huge regulatory burden. They used to just track you, not tell you.
Why do they got to
Okay.
tell us? I don't want to know. I don't
No,
want to
but
know
they
about that
put they
anymore.
put a little device on your computer that allows it each that says I put a little icon on here that's a butterscotch lollipop, and and everywhere Phil Brown goes, he walks through the door and it shows that icon, and that icon is tied to me. So that means that wherever this, and then they take GPS and they can follow you around, and then they sell that to people to see where you go throughout the day,
We're gonna go on a
and then
tangent real
they're
quick. Why do you like the butter? You think the butterscotch Dum Dum flavor is the best, and I think that that is the most atrocious crime against humanity that I can think of at this very moment.
well, there is cotton candy.
You know what I like was the soda one, the Sprite. I think it was like you remember that one was like white.
I don't remember that.
That one was my favorite. I loved the
I
soda
love
pop flavor.
butterscotch.
What was the other one? The other one was cotton candy. Cotton candy was also
Oh, I
an
love cotton
elite
candy.
level S tier flavor. But as
Yeah.
you were saying before, what I think about, there was this thing recently that I saw online that it's this dark web thing. This guy was running through it, right? And he was like, wow,
Yeah.
you can access Call of Duty in-game chats from like 2010 to like 2012. And you can see the gamer tags that said what and what
Yeah.
slurs and what the people said to other people. Because this is back before you really
Hmm.
got banned at a moment's notice. And I'm wondering, man. Like, man, it's crazy. You can see exactly what individuals said in the very moment from one game in 2012. It's ridiculous.
Do you think there's going to be a time when, well, I don't know. I mean, when people like when you go for a position or something, when something you did 10 years ago is not going to affect that position.
No, I think that it's going to be even more of an issue coming up in
Let's
the
just
future.
say, you never have, but let's just say that when you were 11 years old, you punched a girl,
Yeah.
and somebody on Facebook said you punched a girl, or some weird thing like that. And then that was permanently in the record forever. And now that I've said it, it is, but
Now
it's
it is.
false.
Yeah.
But
You
and I'm
messed
also
up.
said false. But anyway,
They're going to edit the video. It's going to be all messed
would
up now.
you would you would you think that I mean, I think that if you came to work for me, and I've been an employer at one, two, three, four, five, six companies, uh, and I relied on that, I'm a shitty employer. You shouldn't come to work for me anyway. Sorry. I mean, that's just what I think. I think that if I can look at your history in the last 3 to 5 years, unless it's something egregious, like if you raped somebody a
Yeah.
while ago, I would
Well,
be
if
like,
you're,
well, that's kind of that's a bright no,
yeah,
you
that's
know.
a solid no on there. But that's what background checks are for, right? Is to see if you're an ex-convict.
They're a little weird,
But
but
at the
yeah,
same time, the thing that you're talking about that strikes me the most is Brett Kavanaugh, right? We looked back at him in college, which I
yeah,
thought was, I don't know, I don't
a
really
little
lean left
crazy.
or right, but like that was really, really insane to me. To
Well,
look
they start
back,
doing that with everybody.
yeah,
They
yeah,
did the governor because the governor during his college days, the governor was a Democrat on the other side. I forgot who it was, and he dressed up in blackface.
I
You
remember seeing
know,
that. I do remember that.
remember who was the Louisiana cook lady, the heavyset lady, probably in her
Paula
60s?
Deen, you're talking about Paula
Paula
Deen,
Deen. Remember her? She got
got canceled.
hammered for using the N word in the 70s, which
The way it was done with her too was so bizarre because it
that was
was
just
like
wrong.
because they interviewed her and she's like, well, maybe I said it once or twice, but it was never what I understood it as originally was a video of her saying the slur, but it wasn't
Right.
that at all,
No,
which was
no.
made it even weirder to me.
She
I
just said, "Yeah, I said it," and then they made a big deal out of it and said, "Oh my God, your people love your Southern cooking and you hate black people." And she's like, "No, just it's like when you talk to me about the '60s and we make references to black people, it was it, it was bad. It was
no,
different.
it
It
was
was
different. It was a different
it
time.
was and I think and this is the thing about
Not a great time, but
no, and it's
different
the
all the
thing that
same.
it bothers me that that you would exempt me or my excuses from that era, but also I don't really have an excuse for looking down on any people or population by what they're made up of, you know. But if you're like elementary school, okay, I can understand that you can be swayed by your parents, you can be swayed by other people and all that kind of stuff like that. You could be frightened into things by all your neighbors, you know. I mean, I remember when we had people come to our we shouldn't go down
Well,
there.
I think the Paula Deen thing too was that she was what, like late 60s
Yeah,
during this
she had a
interview?
really successful show, and a lot of people watched it. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, you shouldn't be watching an open racist. And
Well, I
then
think
all
a
of a
lot of
sudden,
people, she tried to bridge Southern cooking and also race relations in general. I think everybody came to terms, and she was everybody's grandma. She was
yeah,
everybody's mom, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
they had to go out of their way and delineate. whose mom that she really was. And
It
I don't
makes you
know. I had
wonder.
such an issue with that because that's kind of like gotcha journalism in an interview,
Yeah,
right? Is it
yeah, I
not?
thought that was bad.
It was very, very much gotcha
Well, then,
journalism.
then roll it forward to like 2 years ago when Rogan got hammered. I mean, he
What
got
did he get
hammered
him
because
for?
he said the N word like 12 times
Oh, really? Did he?
on video. But what
Oh,
happened
jeez.
was, and this is the thing that's kind of pissed me off about his response. What happened was, is that he had friends, and it was said in a group with people he knew that they were close enough to say that and to
Mm,
make jokes about color of skin. And I have friends, shocker, black friends that are close enough to me that I can make jokes with them and no one else is there. And they make jokes about me. And it's but it's very closed. And but he was doing it on a podcast, which wasn't
it's a
closed. And
little, yeah.
and but the thing is that when you see it, there is no intent of hate, you
Gotcha.
know? And so says, "Oh, I was canceled." And it's like, "No, you weren't. You weren't canceled. This is what happened. Somebody saw Joe Rogan had the most successful podcast in the world.
Ever.
He
Yeah.
built this huge thing, and they were a competitor. And they looked at him and said, you know what? I'm going to kill him. I'm going to figure out a way to take his market share away. This is what I would do is if I was a competitor of Joe Rogan. I would say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a way to discredit you internationally or nationally. Any way I can do it, let's go through. And then put people to work on looking at his stuff to kill him and to kill him for my personal financial gain. I think that it was one of his biggest competitors. I think
Wouldn't
that
shock
it
me.
was
They do that during the
probably
Oscars as well. They do that
I
all
think
the
it was
time.
probably like Sirius or something that came out and said, hey, if we hammer this guy, we're not going to lose as many people on our podcast business. Or there's new podcast businesses that are open up that are just like doing this. Now, I'm casting aspersions without any proof whatsoever. So that's, it
But
is
it's
what it
fun to
is.
speculate. You know,
But no, but the thing is that he kept saying it was the woke crowd. And it's like, no, there isn't anybody out there that the people that are out there that are woke. It's just like fuck you. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean you care about people or you're
oh, somebody was
empathetic?
definitely doing it for a monetary gain, without a doubt.
There's very, I mean, that was so detailed in a video and the whole thing like that. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts somebody put this stuff together and they handed it to some little shitty third-rate blogger. The blogger put it out and then it goes everywhere. And then they trace it back and it's like, well, it was just done by Bobby on his weekends. And he just did this because he thought it was he wanted to be anti-racist. And you're like, no, it wasn't.
Well,
It was
do you
fucking
not think
money.
that
It
there are
was all about
researchers there are researchers all the time that work at these competitors that are constantly looking for an
think
in
about how you can hammer
to get
people.
rid of viewership for other people? Of course there are. Well, you know what I
Well,
think about is Bradley Cooper and Maestro, right? I think about
oh
that.
gosh.
And what happens? What happens like 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
before the Oscars? Oh, somebody on Bradley Cooper's set apparently said that he was difficult to work with. Do you not think that that is a strategy used to take people to take awards
Right.
away? Because he would definitely have won, without a doubt in my mind, that he would have won an Oscar
That was
for
an
Minecraft.
amazing,
That
amazing.
that
That
movie, oh my gosh, was incredible. And we
it
saw,
touched me.
surprisingly enough, we saw all the movies that year. We saw Killers, we saw also Maestro,
Killers. What was that?
Killers of the
Killers in the
Flower
Flower
Moon.
Dog.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
That was not great. No, no, it was terrible.
no, it
It
was
was really, really
long.
bad.
She was a great actress.
Oh, she was the best part
But
of that entire movie.
she
Oscar
could have got
deserved. I think
Best
she got a
Actress of the World.
BAFTA. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she got a BAFTA for
but
that.
not best. He by far the best movie, and I don't
DiCaprio,
know what
he's
actor
another white
pulled
male
it out.
savior kind of deal, and he was a
Yeah.
criminal, and they tried to make it seem like he was mentally disturbed, and it wasn't really
Oh,
his
who's that?
fault. DiCaprio, when he was poisoning her in the film, remember that? That was kind of like the whole thing.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
made him kind of a hero-esque type of dude. But you
and like,
listen
how do
to
you make a
what
guy like that kills Native Americans as an anti-hero? You can't do that. That's why. And then Scorsese's like, you got to look
hold it.
deeper, and I'm like, do
They
you
did
think
it
your
in Wolves of
viewers are
Wall
that
Street. See,
smart?
no, but that's what who's the director?
Scorsese.
Scorsese. That's what he does. He did it in Wolf of Wall Street. That guy, it was a total full pillowcase bag of shit.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Jordan Belfort
And
was a garbage
yeah,
can man.
he basically took your grandmother's retirement in Florida and made her live on the street so he could pay for his cocaine and tap and pay for his $2 million yachts and all this stuff like that. So, and he never paid it back. And they those people suffered and died after working a lifetime to build something for themselves, and then it was just taken away and pissed away, and parties for people that were just criminals. And he got, I think, 12 years. I don't know how much he served, but
Not a lot.
no,
Not a
did
lot.
not pay back. Now he's like this motivational speaker, and it's like, I wouldn't. I guess I'd hire him to punch him in the nose, but that's about it. But he probably beat my ass anyway
What I
because
don't understand too, Scorsese came out, I was like, oh, like you need to look deeper into the message. I'm like, you think the
it's not my job.
average movie watcher is going to look at this debaucherous activity and be able to delineate that it's satiric or that it's like it enables? Oh, bad. It's this,
Right.
that, or
But
the
then
other. I'm like,
later
no, they're not going to be able to do that. No,
he's
no.
changed his mind on that because I've heard him also say, well, it's not my responsibility to teach the public what they're supposed to learn about history.
Oh, when you put them on a
And you're
golden
like,
pedestal, yeah, another
so
job.
and I mean, I had heard it on Facebook and I've seen it over and over and over when The Wolf of Wall Street came out that people were talking about it really wasn't that bad. He was a pretty cool dude.
Well, I
And I
know a
was
lot
just
of people that
like,
went into finance because they watched that movie and they thought that they could live life like him. I know a ton of business majors like that. I
yeah, and
know
you just think
so
like,
many, and it's egregious. It's an egregious world. But
mhm.
yeah, no, a digital footprint wise,
I guess he's going to do Bertie Madoff next.
it wouldn't shock me. Or Raytheon. What about
He was
Raytheon?
really a great
Or not
guy.
Raytheon. What is it? Enron. There we go. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You remember that? You know what happened? Well, the dad stayed alive, and the three sons, I think, all killed themselves before they all went to 30
Yeah.
years in prison. And I'm like, that is pretty
And the
horrendous.
dad died of a weird heart attack.
Oh, really?
The only person that went to jail was Skilling for CFO. I think maybe one other did, but he got like 10 years. He's out now and he's doing motivational speaking.
Oh, wow. I didn't
And
know.
you're thinking like, I don't get it.
Well, when
If
nobody
he
will
would have,
trust you ever again in your realm, what else are you gonna do? What else are you gonna do?
we got a guy that was found guilty of 34 felonies that was given the keys to the castle.
Yep,
So,
that is kind of a good
you
point.
know,
He's probably gonna
that
be a
kind of makes you
motivational
just think
speaker.
like, wow, this is really, really, really sad.
Yep. Well, that's where we are in this day and
Yeah.
age in America.
So we just totally diverted from the digital footprint.
Oh yeah. Well, I think about
But I keep, I mean, what am I, 65? I mean,
something like that.
unless something pops up and kills me in some interim thing, I think I got 15 years. 75, 80, right around 80, 82, 84, somewhere in there. My grandfather lived to 86. I don't know when my mother, oh, they've all died
What was
quickly and
your
under
dad?
weird
What did your dad
circumstances.
live to? What do you live to?
Uh, 76.
76? Okay, gotcha. But
Yeah.
he was a
Yeah,
little
but
different lifestyle, I'm gonna say. Just a tad bit different. Just
five five packs of cigarettes a day. Winston tastes good like a
like a
cigarette
cigarette
should.
should.
Yeah,
Reds or
yeah.
blues? Reds, of course, right?
Reds, Mary Tyler Moore, man.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
I smoked Winston's
They
for a while.
tasted a lot like Marlboros.
I never had an issue with the Winstons. They were
I
cheaper as
was,
well.
yeah, I was a Marlboro Red man for 30 years, from
Mm.
15 to 45.
I find it so bizarre that I finally shifted from American Spirit Dark Blue to Camel Blues this year. Weird decision making. Weird decision
Really?
making. But I finally shifted off of American Spirits after 5 years.
Well, smoking's
Yeah.
bad for you.
That's
I
terrible.
mean,
Never,
yeah, well,
never pick it up.
well, I think the thing that I think about is for some reason I can stomach a cigar smoke, but if someone smokes a cigarette, the aroma is just bad.
Well, it makes you smarter. I think that instead of reading a book, if you smoke a cigarette, it's like reading three books at once because it just allows you to access the world in a slower way.
I think
I
think
think
it
so.
makes I think it makes
I
you
think
poop.
that's it. That as well. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, no,
I mean, they're
natural.
there, and yeah, it makes you lose your hair too.
It gives you a really good hairline. Like, who was it?
Makes you,
Paul Newman.
maybe,
Paul Newman. He,
oh
dude,
man, that was just so weird.
he smoked a lot. He smoked
He
a
smoked a
lot.
lot and he drank a lot, and you're like,
Yeah, because he
he just
drank
didn't.
like what, around 20 beers a day or something like that.
You were
It's
saying that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no clue.
skinny
It
dude
was
too.
just
He
like
looked great.
amazing, And you think to
Even towards the
yourself,
end of his
like,
life, he looked amazing. Marlon Brando, though,
yeah,
oh God, did not look great when
he
he was in.
probably never ate butterscotch dum dums, and that was the reason that he had great eyes and
He
no
probably ate the right
bags, and
flavor. You're right. He probably ate cotton candy, the elite flavor, the better flavor, that is.
that's true. That doesn't surprise me. I think he
Well,
did. He probably did eat cotton candy.
you were saying LinkedIn came out in 2002. I
Yeah,
did not even know that. I thought it was much
2002. So
later.
it was around
It
for
was
a
like
long
'09.
time. It was free, easy to log into. It was a great business network until about, I would say, 2 years ago.
It's a
And
cesspool
then
now, yeah.
it went right to it's very, very it's it doesn't have posts of the people I know. It has more posts of people that want to be followed than anything else.
100%. That's what I've noticed. Same
And
thing with
and
any other
and
social media
well,
platform right now.
Facebook do that too because it's a drive. But here's the weird thing is if say it's older, it's an older demographic. LinkedIn is not your teenagers or not your young kids. There's probably some, but
There's still a lot of
I don't know
people
how big it is.
25 that are looking for jobs on there. Well, there's a whole
Right.
job application thing now that I think is really nice that you can do kind of upper tier jobs compared to like
Yeah.
what Indeed.com I think is the competitor, just something like that, which is
Yeah.
just how to get scammed 101.
Yeah. Well, when I look at it, I think about I mean, my history on there goes back to when I was at Global Securities Information. I was CEO there back in '05 when we sold that.
You
I
had
think
LinkedIn back then.
I was LinkedIn on then.
Oh wow.
So I have this history that goes back, and then I actually put in my business history 10 years before that. So if you want to see my history, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, and it's just like, wow, we know what you were doing when you were 35, so which I don't know why that matters because that's 30 years ago. It's crazy. It's
Well,
just
that's
off the hook
interesting as
crazy.
well that people can go back and see what you've done. But at the same time, I think nowadays in these fields, in these very niche competitive fields, if you're 50 years old and you kind of quit, it's kind of really hard to get picked up again because I don't think they're looking for people of that age.
Well,
You being a different kind of animal, right? I mean,
I mean,
you
I quit at 45, and I quit for 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. And then I started a company in the interim, and it crashed. And then, but that's on there. And then I jumped on as an advisor to another company, and then I grew into the top spot there. I mean, I mostly strategy more than top spot. I was top spot for a little window of time, but you know, really, I mean, that's like a business life story, whereas Facebook is like a family life story. So you could, it'll be interesting is to steal both of them and have a life story, which is your work life story, your home life story, and sort of integrate the two together. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I mean,
And
who
then you
owns
could
LinkedIn? That's my question.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, eventually,
Microsoft.
I have no idea.
Uh, is it a standalone? Well, I was also
There's no
thinking
way
that
it is. It can't be, right?
well, you a lot of people
I wonder.
private.
I honestly wonder. But yeah, I think about middle school getting Facebook, and I think about the comments on there and the photos. Or recently, I wiped a bunch of photos. 'Cause I was like, I don't need these weird posts of trees and me at the movie theaters when I'm 13. I don't think that you really need that on there. You can archive a bunch of stuff now too. I think that's really important to get all that old stuff off there. But then I wonder about the
Oh,
comments too. I don't
yeah,
know, like all the comments.
LinkedIn's open by Microsoft.
Oh, it is really.
Yeah, I thought so. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to verify instead of saying it and just, it's on my Facebook, and I mean, when you look at it, like you've got three people that own, control, uh, digital world. And then, yeah, well, Twitter's out there too, so that's a piece, or X.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
X,
Well,
that's
what's the
so
new Blue
crazy.
Sky? That's coming out of nowhere, and it's just millions of subscribers weekly are going online
Wow.
because they're running away from Twitter. And it's if it gets critical mass, it'll beat the hell out of it. And
Is that a
it's
publicly
got to
held
have
company? Is
what?
that a publicly held company?
I don't know. I think
That'd be
it's
an
still
interesting
private.
thing.
Yeah, is
That'd be an
Blue Sky
interesting thing.
public?
Yeah, see if you can get a see if there's a
Yeah,
ticker on that. I'd be interested. That'd be an
yeah.
interesting thing
Because
to look
my
at.
wife, I know it's not public.
I recently jumped on there as
Is
well because I think it's a safe space for artists so that their work can't be taken by AI or something like that. I think that's what their modus operandi is.
it's an independent public benefit corporation led by Jay Graber.
Jay Graber. Why does that sound familiar? It
Uh,
sounds pretty familiar.
so is a privately owned for-profit corporation. Okay, got it. Okay, it's privately owned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
So,
know? The more you know.
well, I
Digital
always worry. I
footprint.
mean,
Yeah.
it's, X is privately owned
Yeah.
and it's privately controlled. I think the when you see the owner have a big voice, because the one thing about Facebook is Zuckerberg may have had a big voice, but he wasn't a Facebook member in the beginning. He wasn't on.
He wasn't.
He didn't log on and start posting shit until like years.
Well, he also
Because
didn't censor a lot of things like the
yeah,
2016 election. You remember that? You remember
yeah.
all the news on there, and it was very
Well,
indicative
think
of.
about what you could do if you feed to the right people, and the algorithms now are so technical that when you say you like something, they give you more of what you like. Or if you say you don't like something, they give you more of that, depending upon what they want. If they know that you get angry and you post lots of comments for things that you hate, well, if they need comments, if comments draw more revenue, they'll do that. But
They're
they
too
know there's
good.
a,
The algorithms now are such a problem for
yeah,
me because I find myself on Instagram, right? And I'll scroll through the reel, and whoever invented the infinite scroll is going straight to hell. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. And then, yeah, the algorithm on Instagram is really, really strong in that it
yeah.
can just rope you in. But
Hmm.
that's why I've gotten in the habit of just putting my phone in a different room if I'm working or I'm doing something else, right?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because
Oh my
I mean,
gosh, it's addicting. It's a
yeah.
stimulus. It's definitely a stimulus. And that
What's
that light,
it's just
yeah.
burning your endorphins.
Oh,
I
100%.
wonder if and you need more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And it's
Why do we think we
it's
have people on SSRIs all the time now? And
yeah,
why do we have
crazy.
people that think there's an issue? Because
Wow.
yeah, that endorphin rush that you get when a notification pings your phone is ridiculous. Oh my God. How
I
fast do you think the
wonder
average person looks at their phone after they get a notification?
I wonder
Oh
if in the
my gosh.
coming regulatory environment, they've now pressed a lot of places to restrict elementary school and middle school and up to 16 school access to social media.
Good. I think
Isn't
that's
that
a great
wild?
thing. That's a fantastic thing.
But I'm thinking in the current the incoming regime, uh, they're anti-regulatory. So I would expect that to go away,
Oh, it definitely will.
you know.
I gotta say, I'm
But
happy
also,
I
I wouldn't
never.
expect it to go away if it didn't profit them.
I gotta say, I'm happy I never jumped on TikTok. I never did
Yeah,
that. I never did that because that
that is
algorithm is about 10
crazy.
times stronger than Instagram.
I when I go and I get hooked, it's like, you know, I can tell when the hook is deep or if it's just got a little bit,
A
you know,
little fish hook.
you know, and I'm like, stop. And I think the problem more with me probably than you is that I don't have to do anything. So I'm thinking that those things that are on TikTok and Instagram and X and all those are built to drive people that have a little bit of money, maybe, or a lot of time and a little bit of money to get them to do that, and then they want to take the money away at some point or somehow some way.
Well, I think you're
That I mean,
confusing
it's
it
like
too. I don't think it's really for any demographic. I think it's for everybody. And anybody that has a minute amount of free time whether it be their lunch break or whether it be when you're in the car. I've seen people in the car on the highway looking at Instagram Reels. Isn't that crazy?
And you're
It's an
thinking like,
addiction. It's an addiction. And I
that's
don't
crazy.
know if we're ever going to be able to get rid of it. I don't think we will be. I don't know.
Well, the power that is running it, Facebook, Zuckerberg, third, fourth richest person, whatever the hell, they pay, you know, they're restricting in other countries, so
I
they're
want to go
pushing the
back to the
restrictions
flip
up.
phone. I got to say that.
Yeah.
I want to
But
go
you got
back
to
to the flip
wonder,
phone.
yeah, you got to wonder if they're going to change that, if more people that are anti-regulation come in. So, and then they press freedom, and it's freedom to make your scrambled egg head, and at
Yeah,
some
freedom
point,
to look at garbage on the internet. And
yeah,
because if you think about it, all social media is really just a compilation of short videos that are just ads for people to make money off of you. Like that's
right.
all it is. And if you think about it, it's like 1,000. It's basically the concept of TV too, but with about 100 million different channels instead of just
Well, the
what,
news,
whatever, what
like the news, I
100,000.
can go across. I used to do this in the beginning, and I have them across the top of my screen. Is the different types of news I have: Drudge, AP News, BBC, Al Jazeera, and Newsmax. And I look at Facebook for news. What the fuck is wrong with me? And LinkedIn, and I get about 30 emails a day. I used to. I've kind of cut them back on different news stories, and I have my news that comes through is let me just see what I have here. New Yorker Daily, Axios. Let me see.
I remember Twitter used to
First
be
round review, Harvard Law School. That comes out every time, and it's Harvard Law Forum on a certain thing. Cooley Pubco, Judd at Popular Information. They do a daily thing. Arnold Schwarzenegger, can you develop a photographic memory? I mean, that's a newsletter. Morning Brew, it's a newsletter. 1440
newsletter written
Daily
by a
Digest,
ghostwriter. Yeah.
it's a newsletter. Uh, just newsletter after newsletter. Tangle, that's another one. That's the newest one I saw. Uh, my God, I could just sit here and read that stuff all day and go through and look at a bunch of videos while I'm reading it, and then my day's gone.
Is this the news app on your phone or is this individual
No, this
apps?
is like every single one of these is its own little news
Oh,
app.
so
So
you
I,
have your own news. Okay, gotcha. Because you can
yeah,
buy
yeah, yeah. I don't like,
news app and then get subscription. I'm like, why would I do that? It's ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, you you get sucked into getting a subscription if you go to like Drudge and you go and they link through to the Wall Street Journal, they link, the New Yorker, they link through to New York Times, they link through to Washington Post, they link through to, Newsmax. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it linked to Newsmax because the articles
Yeah,
are
I was
usually
doubting that one.
there's usually a lot of incorrections in there. But it's interesting to read it only to get a view of what, I mean, what do they got? 1 million subscribers? More? I mean, people look at that. And I wonder, it worries me that a third or half of the people that are looking at what they would consider not to be correct are people that are just looking to be outraged.
Hmm.
I mean, think about all the people that go on X and talk about how horrible Elon is, and it's like, well, why did you log on?
I don't really understand that. Yeah. I like how
I
the
mean,
whole idea too that he was afraid of censorship and all he did was buy Twitter and then censor it. I don't really.
right. I think that, and the thing is people say he's freedom, and you're like, you don't know what that means, do you? Did you go to Webster's dictionary? It isn't
People
what
are
people
very
say.
confused by the word freedom in this country. Like, well, if you don't like it, you can get out. But I'm like, I thought the whole idea of freedom was so that I can have an opinion at which to change what I don't like about the country that I live in, right? I don't know.
Right.
I thought that's what freedom was. I didn't think
Oh my
freedom was
God.
me having to blindly agree with other people about things. I didn't
Hmm.
I didn't realize that's what freedom was. I don't
Yeah, and I
know.
heard, the whole mass exodus when everybody was talking about the last election, where they were going to go. I'm like, so where are you going to go?
Yeah, nobody's
You're
going
going to go to
anywhere.
Mexico?
No,
Wow.
nobody's going
Free
anywhere.
down there. It might be
Yeah.
more free, but It's a little more dangerous.
A little more dangerous.
Costa Rica? No,
Belize?
no. That's
No?
where the one guy
Belize is nice.
bought off the president.
Oh, really?
McAfee, remember?
Oh, yeah. I totally
And then
forgot
they
about
went
that.
after him for murder.
Yeah, they really did not like him. There was a whole
Mhm.
conspiracy about McAfee as well. That didn't they kill him? Whatever happened? He's still out there, right? Or is he dead?
He is. I think he was
Is he
a little
dead?
wacky.
He was wacky, but I think there was something about because what did he develop? He developed a it was like Norton, right?
Right,
It
but
was
it
like
was meant to
spyware.
be. That's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah, it was like
I
Norton.
think they
It
bought
was
Norton or
spyware.
Norton bought him.
But he did something weird and the US government was not liking what he was doing.
Well, he had back doors, I thought, into that security software.
I think that that's what they said and they didn't like that. And
Well, no.
little did he know he yeah, had to go on the run.
If you're selling me safety, but safety from everyone except you and anybody you designate. And the
The
way you
government is
designate
the
them is
only people allowed to have back doors. I think that's kind of the rule,
well,
right?
they were fighting over that because, Apple gave him a back door, Verizon gave him a back door, Facebook gave him a back door, and it wasn't quite sure whether they justified it. They would get these, what were the warrants called? FIS warrants or FILO warrants or something like that. I don't remember what people remember.
I've heard of
And
this
they were
before.
serving on all these organizations when they were tracking down, we're looking for terrorists. And I think that the Patriot Act is the worst, the second worst scourge on our society as a whole. Is the fact that we can just listen in on everybody because I honestly just sorry I don't think it makes it any safer.
All
I
it
don't think
really
we're any
does
safer
is
than we
make
were.
me stand longer at the airport. And that's really all it's ever done.
Right.
Security theater has never accomplished anything. You know when you charge something with your
Fear.
credit card and you got to sign it? You know what
Yeah.
that does? That is only the belief that your signature is actually not going straight in the trash and it's actually I don't know
Well, no,
kind of
no, no, no.
moving
You know
really
what that
fast.
is? That's a law that Congress has been too lazy to ever pass. Because anytime you make a contract, and if you sign the contract, it's enforceable. And it goes back to law from English times from hundreds of years ago. And that's why it was a big deal to make DocuSign something you could sign online. And it's like,
DocuSign was
why
took
couldn't you make it
forever
for
to
like
come out.
under $40 in transactions or $100 or something like that? Somehow, when I do Amazon and I buy something there and I spend $100, I don't have to sign anything.
Nope.
Maybe
Because
I
it's made up.
pre-signed. I don't
It's
know.
theater. But at the same time, what did you just say before? You were talking about oh gosh. I had a
The
bone
the,
to, oh, I have a
the
bone to
Philo or
pick.
FISA warrants
Oh, no, no, no.
where they went after the big companies and they did that. I mean, and they were looking at
DocuSign was what I was going to talk about. I
oh,
have a
DocuSign.
bone to pick with DocuSign. 3 years ago, I was able to have unlimited signatures for free. Now I
Yeah.
get two signatures like a year or something like that.
Wow.
And that makes me frustrated. I have to say that I am condemning DocuSign, and we are no longer
Well,
DocuSign Pro on this podcast. No, no, we don't
well,
like it.
you well, I see. I don't pay for it.
I don't pay for it, but I have two
I let the
signatures like
person.
every 2 months or something like that.
I let
It's
the people
ridiculous.
that send it to me. They pay for it, and then they send me a code, and I go in.
Exactly. But you can't
So if
send
you if
things, is what I'm saying. That's the issue that I'm running into.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, if you
Yeah.
send things and you want them signed, which now in your new Zachary, what is it?
ZHB Productions. Yep. I
I
have
love
my
that.
own
ZHB
LLC now.
Productions, when you send contracts to people and you need them signed, they will expect them to be DocuSign.
You know what I
They'll
was thinking about
expect them to
doing?
be.
Thinking about
What?
doing merchandising. What do you think? What do you think about that? Put some merchandise up on
We could do that. I
the
would. I
ZHB
think
Productions
that would be
merchandise.
interesting. I think everybody would like a ZHB Productions. I mean, this is kind of big news. It's kind of slipping in the back door that you started your own production company.
Yeah,
But
it
this
sure
has
did.
actually nothing to do with your history. Well, maybe
I
it
mean, it kind
will.
of does. It kind of does. It's the history of
Your
me.
digital footprint now is going to be that movie and your name in that movie.
Yep, yep.
And it's
Screenings
going
on
to be
the
your
8th. Yeah, it's
digital
gonna be
history
great.
is going to be the executive producer on the what's that short that you're doing? The
There were
animated short.
trees, and then this next one is up the water spout. Yes. Yep.
I love that.
It's great. Oh my gosh, it's going really well.
It's
It's
Itsy
fun. Got
bitsy
some really talented
asshole
people on the team.
walking up the spout. Down came the rain and washed them all out. Out came the sun and dried it all up. And then itsy bitsy assholes was walking up the spout.
That's what it is. It's a spider with a big hole.
Now, my brother used to do this to me when I was in like second grade or something. He would call it itsy bitsy asshole because I learned itsy bitsy spider, and that was
Really?
his thing.
You learned
Yeah,
that
and he
over
would do
the other
itsy
one?
bitsy asshole. And I was just like, it made me laugh because he cussed. And, asshole is a really dirty word then. I think
Was that Edwin or was that Seth?
that's Seth. Yeah.
Okay. How did I know
Yeah.
that already? I already knew the answer to that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That was
funny.
always funny. Just very crazy.
No, that
I
is
don't think that's
excellent.
anywhere digitally, but now it is.
Now it is. Now
And you think
people
about
can
what's
listen
gonna
to
what's gonna
that
happen to
track
all these episodes when we drop.
when we're dead.
When you start to think about, if you were to look back at somebody and you wanted to say, "Hey, I want to find out about Phil Brown. He died yesterday," and you could probably look up. Weirdly, I found obituaries from 15 years ago that are online, and all the people signed in, and they all said all the things they said about him and how they liked him and loved him and everything.
Well,
I was
that was
looking
the
up
thing for
somebody.
Seth, right? Because that's that website. I can't remember
Yeah,
what it's called. It's like
it's
Remember
not the only
Me.
one. There's millions of those out there
Well,
that
that
are.
was the first one that I ever really came across, and
Well,
those
because
are
you weren't
crazy.
visiting dead people.
Not when I was
I get
14.
those all
No,
the time now. 65, man.
surprisingly, I don't.
People I know are dropping. We got some
Remember when I
flies
worked
dropping.
at Merrifield Garden Center? Oh my gosh, good
Oh yeah,
times. That's about the
yeah,
time that he died. Funny enough.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. But
2016,
that job sucked. What?
2016. That was
I was either 15
eight
or 16, depending on the
eight
month.
years ago. No, 2016.
Yeah, but I'm saying I was 15 or 16, depending on the month.
Yeah, 8 years
Yes.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
8 years goes by
Wow.
fast. Very, very
Yeah,
fast. But
yeah.
yeah, no, a
Very
lot of
long
people don't
time.
have a digital footprint after they die. I noticed, especially older people. Very, very
Well,
limited. No, he didn't do Facebook. He didn't do a lot of things.
no, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I have a picture of him and he's doing, yeah. And I said, "You're not on Facebook." And he goes, "Yes, I am. I'm on Facebook."
I
I
remember
was
this.
just like,
I remember this.
what the hell?
Well, he had a very, I think that he had a good belief that it's just a little ridiculous. I don't know that we put
Yeah, it
ourselves
is
on.
ridiculous. Well, the thing is in the
It's meta.
beginning,
It's so meta to put yourself on the internet to a bunch
it
of people
was
that you don't
really
really
cool.
know. And yeah,
Well, it's very narcissist. And hey,
well, that's why we started a podcast like every other
look at
group
me,
of white
man.
men.
Look at
Gosh.
me. Look at me, how cool I am. But look at where I went. I for years, it's travel for me was like it allows me to document it. But I had a lot of people that were like, "Wow, that's kind of cool where you go. I like to see it because then I want to go to those places." And then, but it's also it kind of it
That's an ego stroke.
look at
Yeah,
me, big traveler.
big
You
ego
know?
stroke. Because those
Oh,
people that put the
big,
things on
absolutely.
social media have a lot. They're hiding the really horrid parts, or sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I have
Oh yeah,
cancer,"
yeah. We
or
don't
this, that, or
talk
the
about
other.
all the things that I fucked up.
Yeah, you think I
No,
voice my
I'm not
issues
talking
and
about.
problems on social media? No,
Yeah, last time
I
I
don't
went to
do that.
prison, jail,
Last
got in a
time I
fight,
went
got
to
beat up,
prison.
by
Oh my gosh.
you know, not very large women. You
What was that?
know.
You know what that reminds me of? When Cat Williams got beat up by a 12-year-old. I remember that
Oh,
happened.
no way.
Yeah, he got beat up by a 12-year-old when he was like 40 something. And
Wow.
yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why that reminded me of that.
I had a
Gosh.
business partner, same thing happened. She was a third degree, it was a business partner's wife.
Yeah.
But she was shocked because she was a third degree black belt. And it was in Southeast DC, I think, or Northwest, one or the other. Whatever. She's in her front yard and somebody's walking down the street and they throw some trash in her front yard while she's standing in her front yard.
That's fighting. Yeah, that's fighting
Something like that. And
grounds for
she's a
fighting.
woman that's 30 some years old. And this is a kid coming from, I don't remember, it may not have been trash, something. The person did something like she was looking at, what you looking at? Or something like that. And the girl was probably like 14. And she's
14-year-olds are
looking at her.
angry. That's a
Yeah.
that's the age I don't want to fight.
And she
Oh
goes,
gosh.
I'm looking at you. right in her eye. She goes, that was a mistake. She hit me 3 times in the face before I even picked my arm. And I was just like, and was holding books. She dropped them. Boom, 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 boom. I just like was shocked.
School was not
And then
great
she was
that day.
gone. What?
School was not good that day.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like,
Bad day at school.
that's inner city, man. And it's just like,
Oh,
it isn't like when I was in high school. Yeah, yeah, you come to me.
there
You
was some
don't
shoving. There
mess
was a
with
lot of
me, will you?
shoving.
I'll
Yeah.
push you. Instead of just wham, 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 wham. And it's like, gosh,
Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
hit
But
him with a
I
bat.
think
That's what I'm
martial
gonna
arts
do.
is always about I don't know, like schedule and
Strike. I think the key
I don't know
is
if it
that
was ever about fighting though. I don't think
you
it was
have
ever
to
about.
anticipate. The way I would fight is you have to anticipate the person that you're looking at their next move.
I think it's about discipline more than anything.
And one of
I
the
think
things
it's more
is
about
you don't
discipline.
catch somebody directly in the eye, because that if you do that, you've just said, I'm going to fight you. And then their response is to punch you in the face, and then you've lost. At least they've got an advantage. What you wanted for me is you want to always look down and look submissive, but be watching the hands because you'll see them do this to get ready. You'll see this like a tensing, because you don't just punch somebody like that. You put your hand together.
You also
You
twist your
move
body. Yeah, yeah.
you move your body. You put one foot forward, and you kind of go into a little stance, a little bit. I mean, people are not deer. They can't just, you know.
Yeah, deers
So
punch
there's
really
all
fast.
those high lines, and if they do that, you got to punch them. You can't like hesitate, or you just got to be incoming, you know.
You
But
gotta be prepared.
I'm always been. I have like I've had a really, really, really good gift of gab. I mean, I was a doorman in Georgetown at a bar of college students mostly, and they sort of skirted the whole underage, overage uh, that came in.
Like most bars do.
No cover. I worked every Friday, and this is when I first started the business. The very first launch of the first business. So, and I got paid cash. It was great. And I got in one altercation in 3 years.
That's impressive.
One. And
Now they all fight. They all fight.
I was threatened 15, 20, 25, 30 times, something like that. A bunch.
Surprised it wasn't more than that.
I was just, I could just kick your ass. And I'm like, yeah, of course you could.
But then you can't drink here, so I don't know.
Well, that's what I said. And I said,
know.
well, if you do that and you go into the bar, they're probably not going to serve you. And then you see that guy, he works here. And I would always look for the biggest guy in the bar. So, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a little hint. Right down there, you're going to see a sign that says Home Italian Cooking. Great bar, go there. They'll let you in, no problem. And I would do that. And I would just pass people off to the next bar. And I did this every time somebody came at me in a hard way. I had one guy that he comes up to me and he's got his mouth open. I got to tell you, when someone drops their mouth, they're really fucked up. That's a sign, because that's what they used to call me, slack jaw. Because after you have about 15 beers, well, he walks up, he's already got slack jaw. He has one of these, they're golden, the like, you can see in them pill bottles.
Oh,
This
yeah, the
this big
orange
around,
thing. Yeah.
this tall, with a white cap on the top. He looks at me and he pops the top. He drops a volcano on his hand, just right on his hand. So he's got a handful, stuffs them in his mouth in front of me, and he's chewing them. And I'm like,
Ugh.
okay, you want to die? Cool. And they were like, I recognized the amphetamines. I don't know barbiturates, what they look like, but I knew amphetamines then, and I knew that he took 5 or 6 or 7. There were a bunch. I saw the Black Beauties. I saw a lot of that, and I don't know what the other stuff was. But he's crunching it down, and he's like, "You gotta let me in." I'm like, "No, we can't. he goes, "My dad works for the FCC. He's going to come and get you." I'm
The
going like,
FC.
the FCC? What the
Oh,
fuck?
jeez, man. A
And he's
radio
screaming
show
at
is
me, and
gonna
he's
be
angry. He's really,
messed up.
really, really angry. And I say, "You know what? We we are always good to the FCC." And I told them, I said, "We can't let you in here because we have a tonight's a no FCC policy first night. But there's a bar right down the corner. It's called, and it's got a home Italian cooking right in. You just walk right in there. Great bar. They'll serve you right there.
Very
Everything's fine."
pro FCC.
I never, ever, ever, and every person I lied to about that had anybody ever come back. Ever, ever. It was so comical because I'd say, like, you know, you can't come in tonight because you're wearing a collared shirt, and we're not having collared shirt. And then they point, look at that guy's got a collared shirt. It's like, well, we had a time, and we've already filled up the number of people that get the collared shirts get to come in. And they just, and remember, they're fucked up. So
Yeah.
and as long as you're straight and you seem like you're believable, which I was always believable, I would tell them that, and they'd be, but let me tell you what, I got an alternative. You go right down. The beer is actually cheaper there too. I've been told it's colder too, you know. And then they go, just like throw a few compliments, and they're like, no one is that nice to me when I shit on them. No one is. And they just go down to the next bar, never see him again.
I did that a few times at bars when I think it was in 2018, 2019, when I would say, you know, Donald Trump, he's passing this new law, left on red, left on red. What is that about? And they're like, that's not real. I'm like, it is. Trust me. I believe.
Jacksonville.
And they're like, left on red? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I made a lot of people that year believe that left on red was a new law. It might have been bad, actually,
Well,
in hindsight.
they have left on red in Jacksonville
Where?
on one way streets.
That's crazy. Whoa.
No, it's not, because it's a one-way street.
I know, but I'm saying it's crazy
You come
because
up
it's so
to a
nuanced.
stoplight because these people are going this way. You're on the left-hand side. They're going this way. You're just cutting into traffic this way. And if you can see them, you should be able to turn left.
Oh, geez.
You know,
That sounds great. And that makes sense.
I mean, it's great
Yeah.
because if it's going this way or this way, you know, they have a lot of one-way streets. So that kind of doesn't make that actually does make sense. So it's kind of funny.
Remember in Louisiana,
I
driving down
remember
the
so many stories. I remember the I don't know if I've ever told the bar story about the biker guys.
Oh
That,
yeah, where you were taking the pint glasses off of the.
Oh my God, have I told that here?
Yeah, I think so. I think we did
Oh,
review that.
okay. Yeah,
Yep.
that was
That was crazy.
really, yeah, that was the most frightened I've ever been
Yeah, you don't really want
of
drunk
working
people around heavy glasses that are angry.
Well, it wasn't the little guy wanted, you know, when someone tells you, I mean, he's sitting there and they came down to get me. That's what it was. No, there's a lady behind the bar. She's got all the glasses sitting up, and I'll tell the story again. And they're pint glasses. They're the English pint, big, heavy glass. And they've had like 16, I mean, just a ton. And she hasn't taken any of them off the bar. And the one thing you do when you're dealing with people is to take them off if they're a little bit unruly, because they're going to use the glass to smash your face in. And as a doorman bouncer, you don't want somebody to hit you in the face with a glass. And a pint glass will sever something or destroy something like, you know, like your brain if you like it. But I remembered I was talking, and there's a little guy, 5'2", 5'3", and he was just mouthy as shit. He had a cut up, he had he had the whatever the colors on his jacket, and he was talking to me and just I got laid. I fucked all night 2 nights ago, and then I got drunk as shit last night, and life has been really good. And you know what I haven't had? Like, I don't give a fuck, but what? Because we got to go, man. It's 2:30. You got to go. And he goes, I haven't had my ass kicked. I want to get my ass beat. I'd never had anybody tell me that they wanted me to beat their ass.
It's kind of
not very. And he was a little guy. Behind him was his buddy, 6'4", and he was like my old partner Richard, like a freaking bear. Built like a bear, all of it, just a monster. And he was quiet. And he was just looking at me. He had his glass of beer. He was sipping it. And I tell the guy, and then I go, we get in a fight. I might get lucky and win, or but you're gonna punch me in the mouth, and I make $50 a night here. And, then I'm gonna have to have dental work. I'm gonna have to take time off of work because I'm working on the job next week, and I'm gonna have to go to the dentist and all this. And you're probably gonna get thrown in jail for the weekend, but that probably isn't a big deal. But then I'm gonna have to pay this money, and then I don't have the money. So then I'm gonna have to go get another job so I can pay for working at this job on a Saturday night till 2 o'clock in the morning because you want to be beat up. I said, really? And he was like, and he looks at me and he hops off this. And the funny thing is he was on one of those high bar stools. His feet didn't touch even the rung. He hops off on the floor. It was funny as shit. And I didn't laugh, but I really wanted to. And I can laugh now because he's nowhere around. And then he goes, and he turns around and he goes, let's go. And they just walked out. Didn't say a fucking word.
Wow.
I was just like,
one of the few times reasoning works with
well, I
small
just told him
people.
that I didn't tell him about anything other than my consequences and me. And he listened. And I didn't do this from 6 feet away. I did this from 3 feet away because he was sitting in the thing and I was talking to him straight to his face. And I had my eye looking at Tiny, waiting for him to reel back with the glass. But he didn't need a glass. He could beat me up with his hands, Of course, no other bouncer comes upstairs, which pissed me off. And while
How
he
many
was
bouncers
sitting
work
like
there?
this.
How many bouncers? Other than you?
Three.
Okay.
But they would there's a downstairs bar and there's 2 upstairs bars.
Mm.
And each bar during the day, they had like restaurant food. But then during the evening, they pulled all the tables out and those bars filled to capacity.
Yeah,
so
that's what they're doing now.
It was supposed to be like 100, but you could get around 300 in.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
When you went into the bar to the left at the top of the stairs, the downstairs bar was the Rhino bar, and the upstairs bar was the railroad bar where they had railroad things all over. Literally, it would take you a minute or two to get to the front of the bar because there's so many people in there. I mean, there was easily 60, 70 people in a room. It's like your bedroom here, this room here, probably, about this size. And the music's jamming, and it's like maybe 60 people. And
I call the fire marshal on you. That's a problem.
Well, yeah, every once in a while they'd come in, and we knew when they came in, because usually they'd come I got there at 8 o'clock, and they would show up at like 8, right?
Yeah.
Everything's good here. And then they'd leave. And then they go see the manager because the manager's still on duty back in the office and get paid. That's what we assumed. But then evidently they didn't get paid enough, or there was a new man and he came in. He comes at, they hit us a couple nights, a Friday, and then I worked the Saturday too. And they came in at like 12 o'clock. And they're like, you're way over capacity. You gotta cut off the beer. And then so we cut off the beer and they start to get unruly. And we have, probably 200 people, 250 people in. And people are like, fuck, I can't get a beer. It's 12:30. So they start leaving the beer and they don't pay. They just leave, And the fire guys know this shit. And there's 2 doors going in. We have one going into the downstairs bar, which you can go across. And then the upstairs bar there is on 30th, is on the corner of 30th and M. And we cut off the taps, and then they're yelling at me. They're saying, you're not emptying it fast enough. And I said, well, we did what you said. You said cut off the taps, cut off the taps. You got to clear it out. You got to clear it out. Tell these people to get out now.
I don't think I've ever seen a fire marshal
fuck out now.
Clear a building like that. I don't think I've ever seen fire marshal clear.
Well, we did
like
the clearing, and we went upstairs.
Or even come in and accuse. I've never seen that.
12:30. We don't have to leave. I'm like, fire marshal says we have too many people in here. We cut off the beer. You have to go now. Drink your beer fast, please. And then people, of course, you're just peaking in your buzz, and you're right on the edge of getting ultimately shit-faced, and I'm kicking you out of the bar. So anger is ensuing with everybody. All they did was call me names and yell at me, and all I did was
generally all they do.
All I did was divert it to all the cops downstairs.
That's what you gotta do.
But it was
Make
just
them
like
work for it. Make them
they
work
didn't do
for it.
anything. They just stood outside and waited.
Oh
And
yeah.
then they looked in the they didn't even come in the bar. They looked in the window and
It's
goes,
kind of
simply
the
down.
hippie beaten age, wasn't it?
Oh
I
God,
don't know.
yeah. Well, that was 80. This would have been
Oh, a little bit
85,
after the beating of the
86,
hippies.
and 87. 85, 86, and 87 is when I worked there, I think.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Or 85, 86, 87, and 88. I worked those 4 years, but I worked like different times.
Uh,
That was
oh wait,
wow.
what?
But it wasn't.
How are we at for time on this, by the way?
Oh, we're at about an hour, but we haven't.
Oh, we are.
I don't know what that has to do with digital media. I don't think you can. I had no employment rate there. I was
I
paid
don't know. A
cash.
story's a story, and
So
I think this
that
story's
was.
good.
I wonder if that's a felony or it's probably a misdemeanor, and and I think it's long gone. So if I run for political office, someone could pull up this episode and they could string it together with all the other things I've said that I was bad, and they were saying, "Look, he did 37 bad things. We're not going to elect him as chief toilet plunger guy."
Well, I'm going to
What
be
do you
running
mean?
for
I'm the
mayor of Hurricane coming up here soon. So,
mayor of Hurricane. What's that?
Hurricane, West Virginia. I'm running for mayor.
Oh, you are
Getting my campaign. Yep, 2035. 2035.
really.
I'm working on it. Yep, we're working on the campaign now.
I like
I
that.
think it's going to be
Well, you're
good.
launching the new movie. What's it called again?
Oh, that's a private showing coming up
Yeah.
here on the 8th. There were trees. And then we're also working on the animated thing,
Yeah.
which should be out within the next 6 months, something like that.
I
Yep.
got to keep remembering these things. Yeah, when it's
Gotta remember.
you're gonna
It's hard
you
to remember
cannot
these days.
you cannot release it until you actually show it at a festival.
Yeah, but you can't. The weird rules on premiering is that you need to get into a festival, and then Sundance, a lot of the A-list festivals want you to premiere there because I think that they just want overall traffic for popular films
Okay,
and things like that.
one thing I want to say, we're coming to the end of this, and it's supposed to be about digital media, but we got kind of sidelined with weird stories because we never do that. We always stay on track.
No, we're always
But
on track.
before I got on here, my wife was on Facebook for 10 years, 12 years, something like that, keep up with birthdays and all that. And then she finally got to a point where she said, "It's toxic. I don't like it. I'm leaving." She erased her account. There was probably a month and a half of anger because it was not an easy process to get your stuff off there. And I would say that, and I was always doubting. And now anybody that's posted something on their site with her name and her picture, it's still available, but you cannot look up her name. There is no record of her on Facebook. And I'm like,
Oh wow,
she was
that's actually
successful.
surprising.
So when you think about your digital media, what it tells me is that if I die and you want this record, or you don't want this record, or you are worried about this record falling into hands and let's continue Phil Brown's life, only this time we're going to call him a Nazi who burned down Eastern Europe or whatever the hell.
I saw him do it.
I
I saw you do it.
well, you could probably piece together all the shit what the people say and do that, or they're going to make an animated figure out of my face or use my voice or whatever. If you want to avoid that, you should do what my wife did and erase that shit, or have something in your will that says these are my 25 accounts. Please notify them and erase everything. Not a bad idea.
I don't know if dead people really care about that, though. Like I don't know.
No, I'm not saying dead people. I'm saying this is more for the benefit of the living, because who would want to see their okay, case in point. Do you think that who was it? Remember all the pictures of the guys the kids that got shot in the first elementary school?
Oh yeah. What are you talking about, Sandy Hook?
Yeah. Do
What?
you think? And then they got posted, and they were like, "Little Johnny Hepzibah
Oh
got shot
yeah,
and murdered."
all the time on the news and
And
all
then
this
Alex
stuff. Yeah.
Jones used those pictures in his InfoWars and went after them and said, "This is not a real child."
Oh yeah, and then now
Oh
he's
my God.
owes $1 billion.
And then he
in
went after
restitution.
them and told them that those kids were not real.
That was crazy.
I mean,
That was the most wild thing. Out of all the
I mean,
arguments
I
you
would
can
have.
make in the
I hate to say
world,
it, but
I'm
I would have
so
shot him.
surprised that
I would
you.
have shot the fucker. No, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done what that guy did on Walking Dead. I would have taken my Lucille bat and I would have beat him to death. And I would have started at his knees and worked up to his head. And I
That's
would have
great.
taken my time.
Oh
And
yes,
that's
I
rude,
think like a lot of
but
people.
that guy is a big bucket of shit.
That's
Oh.
great. All right. So on that note, thank you for listening. As always, the Instagram Record of My Father podcast, YouTube Record of My Father podcast, Record of My Father podcast.com as well. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Bye bye.
Life is good.